So part B of this question asks, what is the genotype of the heterozygous female parent? All right, and in order to answer that question, we go back to our progeny and look at the parental types. This will tell us which genes are in cis and which genes are in trans. Okay, so you see that pallid and raven are here sorted together. That means they're in cis to each other. And dwarf and rumpled are in cis to each other. And as such, dwarf and rumpled are trans to pallid and raven. Okay, so you just go ahead and draw yourself a little chromosome, and you can put pallid and raven on one side and dwarf and rumpled. I'm going to use you to represent rumpled on the other side. This may not give you the order of the genes right away, but you can use the single crossover and double crossover methods I showed you in class to see if it makes sense, right? I'll go over that in a moment. But before I do, all you need to know is that it just so happened in this question that when I placed them in this order, it turned out to be correct. If it doesn't turn out correct in your first try, you can play around with the single and double crossovers, and that should help you. And if that doesn't, you can also use the map distances to try and figure it out, which we'll go over in the next part of the question. Okay, so here we are, and in one single crossover event, pallid, raven, and rumpled sort together while dwarf sorts separately, right? So you want to come over here and try and get pallid, raven, and rumpled. So yeah, you have a regular chromosome here, but if you had one single crossover event, you could get pallid, raven, and then a crossover, and you grab the rumpled gene from here, and on the other side you would get dwarf by itself, which makes sense with this. Okay, in the second single crossover event, you have pallid and rumpled sorting together, and dwarf and raven sorting together. Okay, again, with this order of genes, you can make that happen. You pick up pallid from here, then you do a crossover here and pick up rumpled. All right, and on the other side, you see that you can pick up dwarf from here and go up, and raven from here. Okay, so far this looks pretty good. Now in the last one, you've got dwarf, raven, and rumpled on one and pallid on the other, but this is a double crossover event, so you would need to make these work in a double crossover event, and guess what? You still can do it. So in the double crossover event, you got dwarf, raven, and rumpled, right? So you come in from here, all right? Pick up dwarf, go up, pick up raven, bring it back down, and pick up rumpled. And then that leaves you with the wild types of the rest of the genes and pallid on the other chromosome. Okay? So all of that makes sense. That should confirm that this is the order of genes of the heterozygous, this is the genotype of the heterozygous female parent.